Not out loud, no sound came out, but inside my head, every alarm I'd ever ignored went off at once. My sheets felt wrong. My body felt rearranged. The air against my skin carried a sensitivity I had never known, like my nerves had been turned up too high while I slept. I sat up too fast, dizzy, heart pounding, and that's when I felt it. Weight where there shouldn't be. Softness where there had always been angles. My chest rose and fell, unfamiliar, pulling the blanket with it. I pressed my palms down, just to be sure this wasn't a dream. It wasn't. "Okay," I whispered, voice shaking. "Okay, okay, okay." I stumbled out of bed and nearly tripped over my own feet, my balance off, center shifted. The mirror across the room caught me before I was ready. I froze, one hand gripping the dresser, the other hovering uselessly at my side. The person staring back at me looked terrified. But she was unmistakably me. My face had softened overnight, like time had skipped ahead and rewritten me without permission. My jaw wasn't as sharp. My eyes looked bigger, wetter, framed by lashes I had never earned. My hair fell differently, brushing my shoulders instead of stopping short. Even my neck looked longer, more delicate. "No," I breathed. "No, no, no." I leaned closer, breath fogging the glass, searching for proof that this was temporary. A trick of light. A nightmare. But the mirror didn't flicker. Something inside me twisted, not just fear, but a strange, electric curiosity. I touched my cheek. Warm. Real. I pressed my fingers to my chest and felt my pulse racing under unfamiliar curves. I wasn't imagining this. Overnight, something had changed me, and I had no idea how to undo it. Getting dressed felt like navigating someone else's closet. My clothes didn't sit right anymore. Shirts pulled in strange places, hung awkwardly in others. My jeans refused to button without a fight, and when I finally forced them closed, they felt like a lie wrapped around my hips. I stood there, breath shallow, staring at myself again. How am I supposed to go outside like this? I whispered. The world, unfortunately, did not care about my panic. I still had a job. I still had responsibilities. The clock ticked forward mercilessly, reminding me that staying frozen in front of a mirror wouldn't stop time. The walk outside felt like stepping onto a stage without rehearsing. Every sound felt louder. Every glance felt sharper. I pulled my jacket tight around me, shoulders hunched, trying to disappear into fabric that suddenly felt too thin to protect me. On the bus, a woman offered me her seat without hesitation. "Thanks," I said automatically, then flinched at my own voice. Softer. Lighter. It carried differently now, and people heard it. At work, conversations stalled when I approached. Eyes lingered a beat too long. Someone asked if I'd changed my hair. Someone else asked if I was feeling okay. I nodded, smiled, lied, all while my insides churned. In the bathroom, I locked myself into a stall and pressed my forehead against the cool metal wall. This can't be permanent, I told myself. Hormones don't work like this. But my body hummed with unfamiliar rhythms. My emotions felt closer to the surface, like the distance between feeling and reaction had shrunk overnight. Every comment landed harder. Every kindness felt warmer. When I caught my reflection in the sink mirror again, my eyes were glossy. I didn't remember deciding to cry. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat on the edge of my bed, wrapped in a blanket, scrolling through medical articles, forums, anything that might explain what had happened. Hormonal spikes. Experimental treatments. Rare conditions. Nothing fit. Around 3 in the morning, exhaustion finally dulled the edge of my fear, leaving behind something quieter. Curiosity. I stood and opened my closet, eyes drifting to the back, to the place I'd never really acknowledged. A box sat there, untouched for years, filled with things I'd bought and buried under excuses. "This doesn't mean anything," I said out loud as I pulled it down. My hands moved slowly, reverently, as I lifted out soft fabrics, colors I'd once admired from a distance. I ran my fingers over them, noticing how different my skin felt, more sensitive, more aware. When I changed, it wasn't dramatic. It was careful. The clothes fit me now in a way they never had before. Fabric skimmed instead of clung. Seams fell where they were meant to. I looked up at the mirror, heart pounding, and felt a jolt of recognition so strong it made me sway. "Oh," I whispered. This body, terrifying, sudden, impossible, was responding. I experimented quietly, adjusting posture, letting my shoulders relax, speaking softly to hear the sound of it. Each tiny change sent ripples of sensation through me, like my body was learning itself in real time. Fear still sat heavy in my chest, but excitement had joined it. The days that followed blurred together in a strange, heightened haze. My body continued to change, subtly, relentlessly. Curves became more defined. My waist pulled inward. My face seemed to shift daily, settling into a version of femininity that felt both foreign and eerily familiar. I learned quickly what to hide and what I couldn't. I learned how to layer clothes, how to move carefully, how to control my expression when emotions surged unexpectedly. At night, alone, I stopped hiding. I practiced makeup with trembling hands, wiping it off and starting again. I learned how my eyes wanted to be framed, how color transformed my face. I stood barefoot in front of the mirror and watched myself walk, noticing the sway that came naturally now. "This is happening," I told my reflection. She looked back at me, calm in a way I wasn't. On weekends, I dared more. A walk around the block. A trip to a quiet cafe. Each outing felt like holding my breath underwater. Terrifying, exhilarating. People saw me, interacted with me, accepted me without question. "Your order?" a barista asked, smiling. I answered, voice steady, and nearly cried from the relief of it. Every small success stitched confidence into my fear. I wasn't just surviving this. I was adapting. The confrontation came when I least expected it. A friend cornered me one evening, concern etched across their face. "You've been different," they said gently. "Are you sick?" I opened my mouth to lie. Then I thought of the mirror. The quiet nights. The way my body no longer felt like an enemy. "I don't think I am," I said slowly. "I think I'm changing." They studied me for a long moment, then nodded. "You seem more yourself." The words hit harder than any accusation could have. I stopped searching for a cure after that. Not because I wasn't scared, but because I realized something profound. Whatever had happened overnight hadn't erased me. It had revealed me. The hormones, the changes, had stripped away layers of armor I'd worn without realizing it. They forced me to confront parts of myself I'd kept buried under routine and fear. I started dressing with intention, speaking with honesty, letting myself feel without apology. I lost some people. Others surprised me by staying. I found community in unexpected places, voices that echoed my confusion and hope. The mirror became a place of reflection instead of panic. I don't know if I'll ever fully understand what happened that night. Whether it was science, fate, or something stranger. But I know this. Being trapped wasn't the transformation. Being trapped was the life I lived before, boxed in by expectations I never chose. If you're watching this and you're afraid of what change might take from you, hear me when I say this. Sometimes, the most terrifying transformations don't steal your life. They give it back. And once you've felt that truth settle into your bones, you stop asking how to go back. I thought I had reached the edge of it. That the shock had passed. That my body had made its dramatic statement and would now settle. I was wrong. The hormones didn't stop working just because I'd learned how to breathe again. They kept rewriting me, quietly, insistently, like they had all the time in the world. It started with the mornings. I'd wake up and just know something had shifted. My balance felt different. My emotions arrived faster, closer to the surface, like they didn't need permission anymore. I cried at commercials. I laughed too hard at nothing. Frustration didn't simmer, it flashed. And my body was unmistakably continuing. My chest felt heavier when I walked downstairs. My waist curved inward in a way that made belts suddenly necessary. My skin changed texture, softer, more reactive to touch, like every nerve ending had been invited to speak at once. I stood in front of the mirror one morning wearing nothing but a towel, heart pounding. "This is not slowing down," I whispered. The woman in the reflection didn't look surprised. She looked patient. Hiding became impossible. Not because I stopped trying, but because my old strategies failed me. Loose clothes only did so much. Layers only delayed the inevitable. My posture, my walk, even the way I occupied space had changed. People no longer hesitated before choosing how to see me. They had already decided. At the grocery store, a stranger said, "Excuse me, miss," without a second thought. At work, someone corrected themselves mid-sentence. He, sorry, she. I felt my face burn, but not from shame. From recognition. Each accidental affirmation hit me like a quiet bell ringing somewhere deep inside my chest. At night, alone, I pressed my hands to my ribs and tried to remember what it felt like to be disconnected from myself. I couldn't. The emotional changes were harder. Hormones don't just change bodies. They change how the world lands on you. A comment that once would have rolled off my back now lingered for hours. A kind word could undo me entirely. I felt exposed, raw, but also deeply alive. One evening, I sat on the floor of my bathroom crying, not because anything terrible had happened, but because the weight of becoming was finally catching up to me. What if this never stops? I asked the empty room. The silence answered honestly. What if it doesn't? The question scared me. And then, slowly, it didn't. I stopped calling it a condition. Stopped searching for explanations that would give me an exit ramp. Instead, I started asking different questions. What does my body need today? What feels comfortable now? Who am I when I don't fight this? The answers surprised me. I needed softer clothes. Slower mornings. Less armor. More honesty. I needed space to feel, not suppress. I needed to stop pretending I was waiting for this to reverse. The first time I said it out loud, to myself, my voice shook. I'm not trapped, I whispered to the mirror. I'm transitioning, whether I plan to or not. Saying it didn't lock me into anything. It set me free from denial. Telling others was harder. Not everyone deserved to know. I learned that quickly. Some people asked questions that weren't about care, they were about control. About curiosity without compassion. But a few people listened. A close friend sat across from me, coffee cooling between us, eyes soft. I don't know what to say, they admitted. But you seem more present. Like you finally showed up. I nodded, tears threatening. I feel like I woke up in the wrong body, and then realized it might be the right one. They reached across the table and squeezed my hand. Then we'll figure it out together. I walked home that day lighter than I had in weeks. My reflection kept changing. Not dramatically all at once, but steadily, undeniably. I learned new routines. Skincare. Haircare. Ways of moving that didn't fight my center of gravity. I stopped trying to correct myself and started observing. I noticed how naturally my hips shifted when I stood relaxed. How my voice softened when I wasn't guarding it. How my face, my God, my face, looked calmer when I stopped bracing for impact. Late one night, wearing a simple sleep shirt, I caught my reflection unexpectedly. I didn't flinch. I smiled. It was small. Private. But it was real. The moment of confrontation, the real one, came at work. HR. A closed door. Carefully chosen words. We've noticed some changes, they said neutrally. We want to make sure we're supporting you appropriately. My heart pounded. Old fear surged. Then something inside me stood up. I'm still figuring things out, I said evenly. But I'm not hiding anymore. They nodded. Asked what name I preferred. What pronouns felt right now. Not forever, just now. I walked out of that office shaking, but intact. For the first time, I wasn't bracing for disaster. I was negotiating my existence. The hormones didn't stop. But they stopped feeling like an enemy. They became information. Signals guiding me toward alignment instead of resistance. I realized something profound in the middle of a quiet evening, curled up on my couch, wearing clothes that felt like mine. I wasn't trapped by hormones. I was trapped by the idea that change had to be reversible to be acceptable. Once I let go of that, the fear loosened its grip. I don't know what tomorrow will bring. I don't know where this path ends, or what labels I'll eventually claim, if any. But I know this. I wake up in my body now instead of at war with it. I listen instead of fighting. I choose curiosity over panic. And if you're watching this, somewhere in the middle of your own unexpected transformation, physical, emotional, or otherwise, hear me when I say, being forced to change is terrifying. But discovering you were ready all along, that's power.